In Identity V, every character's backstory is full of hidden secrets. Margretha Zell, known by many names Natasha, Natalie, and Margaret is no different. Through a series of letters, diary entries, and interactions with others, we've pieced together her tumultuous past, revealing a life marked by betrayal, fear, and pain. Margretha Zell's story begins in the small, secluded lakeside village, where she lived with her aunt and uncle. While the village was peaceful, it was a life filled with limitations and restraint. We learn from Margretha's own words in a letter to her aunt and uncle that the quiet rural life was anything but comforting. From her letters, we learn that her uncle wasn't the kind of guardian one could trust or rely on. I wasn't free of worries and hesitance when I left, but the empty promises made by Sergi somehow suppressed them. I made my decision not because Sergi is trustworthy but because if I don't, I'd perhaps regret it. Ironically, I am now regretting everything that happened since, and I deserve it. Margretha reflects on her decision to leave the village and her hatred for her uncle. This resentment, along with the promise of escape, led her to make a fateful decision. On that fateful night, Margretha slipped away from her uncle's oppressive control. She and Sergi, whom she had grown close to, fled the village. The night was filled with quiet defiance, as she spiked her uncle's soup with soothing salt to ensure he stayed asleep. This act of rebellion against her uncle's authority would mark the beginning of a long and painful journey. At the Hullabaloo Circus, Natalie believed she had found the excitement and freedom she had longed for. But the reality of circus life was far from what she expected. While Sergi appeared charming, his true nature soon emerged. He wasn't the loving partner Margretha thought he was. Instead, he was cruel, manipulative, and violent. Joker, a fellow performer, was one of the few who showed Margretha kindness. He helped tend to her injuries after Sergi abused her, offering her some semblance of compassion in an otherwise hostile environment. But Sergi's jealousy ran deep, especially when he discovered Joker's feelings for Margretha. In an act of violent retribution, Sergi mixed Joker's paint with acid, scarring his face permanently. This act of brutality shattered any remaining hope that Margretha had for happiness with Sergi. After the brutal conflict between Sergi and Joker, the circus was set ablaze, and the tragedy known as the Carnival Killer ensued. While most of the circus performers perished, Margretha and Muro Morton were the only survivors. This catastrophe marked the end of the life Margretha had known, but it wasn't the end of her suffering. After escaping the circus fire, Margretha's life spiraled further into chaos. She found herself trapped in the manor, where a new game began, a game in which survivors must evade a hunter. But Margretha's fear wasn't just of the hunter, it was of becoming like Violetta.
Of course. Tomorrow.
I'm terrified. If it's Violetta this time, who's to say it wouldn't be my turn next? I have no one left to trust. He's a terrifying lunatic, just like Sergi. Margretha was terrified of Violetta, who had been turned into a hunter before the game started. In her mind, Violetta was likely dead, and Margretha feared she might be the next victim of the same fate. The identity of he remains a mystery, but it's clear that Margretha feared one of the other participants in the game, either Mike or Joker. Mike, for instance, was openly hostile toward Margretha, believing she was the one responsible for burning down the circus. His anger toward her was fueled by the belief that she had caused the tragedy that killed everyone. But Joker was likely the real threat. Joker, much like Sergi, had a twisted obsession with Margretha. It's likely that Joker was the one who turned Violetta into a hunter before the game started. His resemblance to Sergi, a reminder of her past torment, made Margretha feel trapped and fearful.
Joker.
She couldn't escape the echoes of her past, no matter where she went.
Don't come any closer!
What's wrong?
Mike's hatred toward Margretha wasn't about personal betrayal, it was about revenge. Mike believed Margretha was responsible for the fire that consumed the circus, and his bitterness toward her was rooted in the grief of losing Hullabaloo Circus, his home. This deep-seated anger made him a volatile presence in the manor, further complicating Margretha's already fragile mental state. Through the letters and diary entries, we see Margretha Zell's tragic journey, her escape from a cruel uncle, her ill-fated love for Sergi, the devastation of the Hullabaloo Circus, and her descent into paranoia in the manor. But there is still more to this story. What really happened in the manor game? How do the twisted relationships between Mike, Joker, and Violetta shape Margretha's fate? These questions remain unanswered, but in part 2, we will explore the truth behind the game, and the dark secrets that continue to haunt her. Stay tuned for part 2, where we will uncover what truly happened in the Manor game, and how Margretha's past will shape her future.